Club Q mass shooting, as the suspect appears in court today to face charges. We'll have the latest.
I'm Isabella Capri, live at an apartment complex in Anaheim that Chapman University has purchased for future students.
Costa Mesa welcomes its first zero-waste market, inspired by two UC Irvine students that are fed up with the increase of plastic pollution.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of Chapman News. I'm Alexandra Conyards.
I'm Avery Feldman. We begin today with an update on the mass shooting at an LGBTQ club in Colorado Springs.
The suspect in the shooting that killed 5 people last month has been charged with 305 criminal counts, including hate crimes and murder. 22-year-old Anderson Lee Aldrich appeared in court this morning. The shooting on November 19th also injured 22 people. The club was considered a sanctuary for the LGBTQ community in the mostly conservative city of Colorado Springs. While prosecutors have charged Aldrich with hate crimes, they previously acknowledged they will have difficulty proving those charges, and they will need evidence to establish that it was a bias-motivated crime. Aldrich faces life in prison if convicted of murder. As for on our Chapman campus, students gathered recently for a vigil to remember those killed in the Colorado Q Club shooting, as well as the deadly shootings at the University of Virginia and the murder of 4 students at the University of Idaho. Students gathered at the campus Interfaith Center. Some students shared why they feel it is important to take some time to remember the victims.
Our main goal of this event is just to hold space for students to grieve, express their anger, express their fear, and just to be in community with all of the tragedies that have been happening in our country, whether that's for students, for members of the queer community, all the people who have been affected by these terrible things that have been happening.
At the event, students were able to write a message on a heart to honor the lives lost.
Also here at Chapman, the university is buying another large apartment complex and turning it into student housing.
Chapman News reporter Isabella Capri is live in Anaheim with more on the story. Isabella?
Thank you, Avery and Alex. This is the Anavia apartment complex, future home for about 800 Chapman students. The new residence hall will be called Chapman Court and is located just 2 blocks away from Chapman Grand, another large apartment complex that the university bought and converted into student housing back in 2017. This latest purchase is part of Chapman's plan to increase student housing for undergraduates. The apartment-style residences will offer individual unit amenities and transportation to and from campus provided by the Chapman Shuttle Service. Jerry Price, Chapman's Dean of Students, says having a greater number of students living in university-owned housing provides the school another source of revenue, instead of relying solely on tuition. He says it also addresses concerns from residences in nearby Old Town Orange. Price said in a meeting, quote, "Old Town, as a rule, doesn't really enjoy a mass amount of our students renting housing in the area. The more that we can provide students options that diminish the demand for houses in the neighborhood, then the city and the neighbors like that as well." The news of Chapman's purchase came as a surprise for Anavia residents. How did they find out? A letter posted on each of their doors stating Chapman is now their landlord. With no plan yet for transitioning current residents out of the building, Brianna Taylor, Anavia resident and a Chapman graduate student, says she wishes communication was made clearer.
I think I would have liked to know, hey, the apartment complex is in, limbo or whatever to be bought by somebody else, and then let us know what happened. But as of right now, we just don't know what's going on. And, personally, I'm paying Chapman a lot of money in tuition. I don't want to pay them money in rent as well, so I was I don't really like that.
At Chapman, freshmen and sophomores are required to live in campus housing, but more and more upperclassmen are also looking to live in Chapman-owned housing. Senior Clayton Menta, who currently lives at Chapman Grand, says living on campus provides a sense of community.
I really liked that everyone that's living around me is also a Chapman student, so I feel like I still feel connected to Chapman even though I'm 11 minutes away from campus, so that was nice.
The purchase of Chapman Court means the university will house nearly 55% of undergraduates. Chapman is anticipating that students will start living here as of fall 2024. This is Isabella Capri reporting for Chapman News.
Now that most of the 2022 midterm election results have been finalized, here are some changes that you can expect to see at the local level. The Board of Supervisors in Orange County now has a Democratic majority for the first time in decades. Some issues the Democrats are looking at addressing include homelessness crisis and climate change. When it was Republican-led, the board often clashed with Democrats on the matter of COVID-19 public mandates, such as mandatory mask wearing. Political observers predict a Democratic-led board will work better with Sacramento and Governor Newsom. Congressional Gold Medals of Honor were awarded today to the U.S. Capitol Police and the D.C. Metro Police Department for defending the Capitol during the January 6, 2021 riots. Leaders from both political parties were present for the ceremony, recounting the bravery they witnessed by law enforcement during the breach of the Capitol. Speaker Nancy Pelosi had some strong words about the riots.
We gather here exactly 23 months ago. Our nation suffered the most staggering assault on democracy since the Civil War.
Some family members of fallen officer Brian Seidnick declined to shake hands with Republican leaders Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. The family members said it was a protest of the Republicans' role in downplaying the seriousness of the attack on the Capitol.
Today is the last day of voting in the U.S. Senate runoff race in Georgia between Democrat Raphael Warnock and Republican Herschel Walker. Early voting over the past few days has been a record response. The last day to vote early was Friday, and over 1.8 million ballots were cast by mail. Both candidates failed to receive over 50% of the vote in the last month's election, a provision in Georgia's constitution that is required in order for candidates to win their race. Although Democrats will already have the majority in the Senate, this seat will be an extra vote that could greatly benefit Democrats in their effort to pass bills. They have had trouble this year uniting the party with Democratic Senator Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, sometimes straying from the party. Conservative U.S. Supreme Court justices appear sympathetic to a Colorado graphic designer who wants to restrict her wedding web design service to only heterosexual couples. The court heard early arguments in the closely watched case yesterday. The graphic designer says forcing her to work with gay or queer couples would go against her religious beliefs. Colorado officials say she is violating state law that prohibits discrimination. A decision on the case is expected next year.
Environmentally conscious Orange County residents can now get all of their favorite pantry staples without using any plastic.
I recently visited a new store in Costa Mesa that is trying to address the rise in plastic pollution.
There we go.
Amis de la Terre, which means Friends of the Earth in French, is OC's first and only zero-waste market. The store is located on Victoria Street in Costa Mesa. Store owners Chris McGuire and Jessica Walden are UC Irvine graduate students, specializing in oceanography. Chris says they opened the store because they want to give the community access towards a more sustainable lifestyle.
A lot of people just think about eliminating the bag that they're going to carry their groceries home in, and they don't consider that almost every item that they buy is individually packaged in plastic.
Jessica says they are trying to make zero-waste shopping affordable and convenient. Customers simply walk in, fill their jars with their desired goods, and check out.
The whole goal is to try to eliminate plastic packaging from the waste stream in regards to food products. So we're a bulk food store. You can buy as much or as little as you want at a time. No plastic here.
Emmy De La Terre has already become a regular spot for OC residents like Allie Cherry. She says she is happy to have a place to get all her plastic-free essentials.
It's just super easy. I feel like sometimes when people think about living an eco-friendly lifestyle, it's really overwhelming, but they make it really easy here, and they're really nice, and it's just easy to make this transition from shopping heavily plastic to plastic-free, so definitely come check it out.
Emmy De La Terre is open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Wednesday through Friday and 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. on the weekends. Also just ahead, it's flu season and COVID cases are on the rise again.
We have an extended interview with a Chapman infectious disease expert about what you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones.
And I'm Gavin Nguyen. Coming up, Mauna Loa continues to erupt in Hawaii and your weekly weather forecast. Stay tuned.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
No.
Moving on, Alex, I am looking forward to seeing, or I'm hoping to see, a white Christmas.
Me too, but with all the recent rain we've been having, I'm kind of curious as to how it's all gonna go.
Yeah, it seems like the only thing we have going for us is a wet Christmas.
Gavin Nguyen will help us with the next weather forecast.
Starting with some hot weather news, the Hawaiian National Guard was activated today as lava from Mauna Loa continues to get closer to a key highway in Hawaii. Officials last reported the lava is just over 2 miles from the highway. It's the fastest route between the eastern and western parts of the Big Island. No populated areas are currently threatened by the eruption. The volcano, which is the largest in the world, began erupting over a week ago. Before this eruption, it was dormant for 38 years. But whether you're ready or not, Christmas is coming and fast. While some people enjoy snow on Christmas morning, usually the only precipitation we get here in SoCal, if any, is rain. I wanted to see how often that's happened in the past few years, so I used Weather Underground's tool to check. In the last 5 years, we've had 4 wet Christmases, and in the last 10, we've had 5 with rain. It's still a bit early to forecast if we'll have rain on Christmas this year, but it seems like we've been on a bit of a wet streak lately. But here and now in Orange, it's a beautiful day. Great December weather, 63 degrees and partly cloudy here in Orange. And on the national front, lots of winter weather across the nation. Up in the Pacific Northwest, Seattle, 40 degrees and rain. Down in San Francisco, same thing, rain, 56 degrees. But it gets a little bit drier out in the desert, Las Vegas, 58 degrees and partly cloudy, while Denver, also partly cloudy with 51 degrees. Things are warming up as we move down south to Austin, Texas, 75 degrees down there with cloudy weather. And they're sharing a bit of that heat with Miami. Down in Miami, 81 degrees and partly cloudy skies today. But on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, up in Minneapolis, things are freezing, 27 degrees today, partly cloudy skies. It's also cool up in this entire Great Lakes region in the windy city of Chicago, 44 degrees with cloudy skies. Same thing in Atlanta, 64 degrees and cloudy skies there. Moving up the eastern seaboard to Washington, D.C. and New York, both are getting rain today, D.C. 51 degrees and New York 56. Moving on to our local Orange County forecast, things are relatively cool today, things staying in the low to mid 60s all day today across the county. San Clemente and Mission Viejo, each 60 degrees. Our inland cities of Westminster, Orange, and Irvine, 64 degrees, while our beach cities are 63 and 62. Moving on to our Orange 5-day forecast, things are staying cool, staying the same, all staying in the mid 60s all week, lows in the mid to high 40s, with partly cloudy skies throughout the entire week, which has made for some amazing sunset photos recently. I'm really enjoying it. Watch out for a little bit of rain, possibly Saturday evening going into Sunday. We could have a wet weekend coming up ahead, and we'll know more as the weekend comes closer. But that's all I have in terms of weather for you today on Chapman News. Back to Avery and Alex at the desk.
Thanks, Gavin. COVID cases are on the rise here in Orange County, and daily screening checks are back on the Chapman campus.
Our Caroline Applegate spoke with Chapman infectious disease expert Dr. Jerica Lamb on concerns about new COVID variants and the latest booster shots.
So could you tell me about Chapman and Orange County's shift to a medium level of risk that recently happened?
Yeah, so I've received this as well as the students, faculty, and staff have last week from the president. And to be honest, it's not surprising after the Thanksgiving holidays that there are increasing rates of infection, not only in Orange County, but also in Los Angeles. And as I understand, usually the virus replicates and we really don't see the infection rates until 7 to 14 days later, because usually, as we understand with this virus, but the pathology of the way how this virus works in our bodies, it incubates for about 5-6 days, and then the symptoms will begin. And so that's why students coming back from the Thanksgiving break will start exhibiting symptoms. And so those are the things that we're hearing in the communities, that our friends, our students are getting sick from this virus.
Do you see these numbers going up in the next couple months because we will come back from break, and then do you think there'll be another surge again? Or
yeah, so it's a great question. Definitely it is predictable now, as we have a better understanding of this virus for over 2 years, going through this whole pandemic with this virus, that it is predictable that after the Christmas holidays, New Year celebration, that there's going to be increased rates of infection. So I just want your audience to know is that being fully vaccinated and getting boosted will prevent us from getting symptoms from this virus. We may be carriers from this virus. We may be contracting this virus in our bodies, but we will not get sick. And that's the whole point. The vaccines, the boosters are not shields of protection that will basically provide this invisible force field around us. We will possibly get this virus, but we won't be bedridden. We won't be symptomatic. That's the whole point of the boosters. As you know, it is a triple-demic going on with the COVID-19 virus, the RSV, and the flu viruses. So I would be very careful to go out there and be in close quarters with people I don't know.
how will this shift in level affect Chapman students and Orange County as a whole?
Yes, that is, I would say, the multi-million-dollar question. We cannot, we don't have a crystal ball to predict that future, even if it's 2-3 weeks ahead of time. So I guess the short answer to your question would be, I do not foresee any mask mandates happening at Chapman community, as well as within Orange County. I think it's going to be up to the individual, which is unfortunate, but I think it's going to be based on policymakers and the leaders who really want to, really be brave about this and take the initiative to really enforce certain things. But of course, there's going to be pushback, as we've seen. So it's a delicate balance in terms of leadership and what they can do when they're really working with communities and people who may not have the same viewpoints.
I'm Caroline Applegate, reporting for Chapman News. Back to you at the desk.
Pharmacies here in OC have walk-in flu shots available, but the new COVID booster shot is by appointment only.
I'm Josh Blinder, and coming up, I'll break down the latest news in college and NFL football. Stay tuned for the best campus sports show.
I'll be seeing you in all of our favorite places with laughter and warm embraces all day through.
Elmo loves you.
I love you too.
With free COVID-19 vaccines, sunnier days are ahead. Visit getvaccineanswers.org.
I'll be seeing you.
So, Avery, how's your fantasy football team doing?
Well, Alex, I actually won this week. Now I'm 4th in the league.
Oh, nice. I'm sure you could get some advice from Josh Blinder.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Best Campus Sports Show. I'm Josh Blunder. I'll start today with a big story in the football world. Neon Deion Sanders in his gold jacket he didn't buy, that means NFL Hall of Famer by the way, is going to be the Colorado Buffs' new head coach. He's leaving Jackson State after 3 seasons. His team achieved a 12-0 record this year, the first undefeated season in program history. Sanders is reportedly being offered a $30 million contract over 5 years. Long story short, prime time is coming to the Pac-12, and with him, his son Shedeur to be quarterback, as well as a number of transfers. Earlier this semester, our own Gavin Nguyen did a feature segment about some talented real-life Bears. Well, here's a big NFL story that might have sent some sports fans from the Windy City's Chicago Bears, like myself, to hibernation. For 101 years, the Bears reigned as the NFL's winningest franchise, having either maintained sole possession or tied for first in wins since they overtook the Buffalo All-Americans in December of 1921. On Sunday, however, this all changed. The NFL's oldest rivalry was renewed when the Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears squared off at Soldier Field for the 206th all-time matchup. History was in the making with the two teams deadlocked at 786 all-time wins apiece. As a lifelong diehard Bears fan, this was a game I badly wanted, and like many times before, Aaron Rodgers and the Packers ripped my heart out. Green Bay trailed 19-10 heading into the fourth and outscored the Bears 18-0 in the final frame, giving the Packers their 8th straight win over Chicago. Rodgers' record now stands 24-5 all-time versus them. Although the Bears have now officially been eliminated from playoff contention, one can't help but be excited for the future in Chicago with their dual-threat quarterback Justin Fields at the helm. Fields has flashed in his second season, showing promise as a more consistent passer from the pocket and also on the move. He's breaking records as well. Previously, no quarterback in NFL history had 3 rushing touchdowns over 50 yards over the course of their entire career. Fields has 3 such plays in his last 5 games. As you can see on your screen, him scrambling for that touchdown. Deion going to Colorado wasn't the only big story this past week in college football. Conference championships were taking place this past weekend. Several of the matchups had college football playoff implications. It seemed 2 spots were locked up by Georgia and Michigan, but TCU and USC's places were up in the air. On Sunday, there were deliberations after which the College Football Playoff Committee selected 4 teams to compete for a national title. The first team voted in was Georgia, led by the walk-on national champion quarterback Stetson Bennett. They're selected as the number 1 seed after dominant SEC championship win 50-30 over LSU. Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Wolverines were also an easy selection after they upset Ohio State 2 weeks ago on the road, then handily beat Purdue 43-22 in the Big Ten champ game Saturday. TCU was put in at 3 and will face Michigan in the semifinal after they lost to Kansas State in overtime. And then Ohio State was put in at the number 4 spot, and one can't help but wonder about that matchup between Georgia and Ohio State. Ohio State came in at the 4 seed. They're an offensive powerhouse entering that weekend, but they usurped the USC Trojans just by sitting on their couches Friday night. USC would have been in the playoff with a win, but lost in the Pac-12 championship game to the Utah Utes and their quarterback Cam Rising 47-24. Even with the loss, USC's quarterback Caleb Williams could be taking the Heisman Trophy home this weekend. You want to keep an eye on him, as in the future, he may be the first player taken overall in the 2024 NFL Draft. Now, with Ohio State getting the nod over a star-studded Alabama team, with guys like Will Anderson Jr. might go top 5 in the draft, people thought that Alabama might be the first team into the playoff with 2 losses. So that Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic possibly in the making, with quarterback C.J. Stroud as a Heisman finalist, and the Buckeyes offense maybe getting Jackson Smith and Jigba back from injury to pair him up with Marvin Harrison Jr. If you're not familiar with these guys, both are projected to be first-round NFL draft picks and could very well be the best wide receivers in college ball. They look to provide Kirby Smart's defense with all the Bulldogs can handle in the back end and coverage. So that will be it for me today at the desk. I hope you viewers at home have enjoyed weekly sports updates throughout the semester. Back to you guys.
Coming up, a new generation of broadcast journalists are ready to take over Chapman News. We'll explain after the break.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
Winterfest OC is here just in time for the holiday season. The festival makes its full return for the first time since 2019. It's been drive-through only events for the past couple of years due to the pandemic. Located in Costa Mesa, guests are transported to a winter wonderland with activities designed for all members of the family, including ice skating, a 150-long ice tubing slide, and much more. Event marketing manager Hope Ludwig says guests are most looking forward to the North Pole journey and the annual tree lighting.
We have the annual tree lighting every single night, and there's a big performance, and it lights up, and it gets everyone involved, and then it snows, and so everyone loves that. So that's a big one for everyone.
The North Pole journey takes guests through an immersive experience with many photo ops and the chance to meet Santa. Winterfest OC is open from January 1st. General admission tickets cost $21.95 for children 3 to 12 and $26.95 for adults.
Chapman News welcomed 14 4th and 5th graders from California I-Inspire Academy to our newsroom last week. Chapman News reporter Langley Tusani has the story.
After Chapman News took our own trip to California I-Inspire Academy here in Orange earlier this semester to shoot some interviews for a story, we discovered that the kids there have their very own newscast. After watching some of their work, we wanted the chance to collaborate. Last week, the kids came to our newsroom here at Dodge College's Marion Knott Studios. The students got the chance to watch us produce a newscast live and practice all of the positions with the help of our team. They anchored at the desk, tried out using our green screen to do weather forecasts, and then even produced their own live interview segment. Their principal shared her point of view of the field trip's impact on the students.
And this is as close as we're going to get to getting them to see a real news broadcast.
As the students practiced their reporting and interviewing skills, we also spoke with them about their favorite parts of the field trip.
My favorite part of the field trip is doing the broadcast and me going to go sit down and saying the words that you guys put in.
Some of them even have big plans for what they want to do in their own broadcast careers.
Probably the producer position.
Producer? That's cool, yeah.
To celebrate the end of our semester as a news team here at Chapman News, we were delighted to be able to pass on our experiences and expertise to the next generation of broadcast journalists. Reporting for Chapman News, this is Langley Tersani.
Before we sign off for this semester, Chapman News wants to thank our 6 seniors for all their hard work.
Langley Tersani has excelled in Chapman News this semester by producing multiple packages and crushing it with her live reporting. After graduation, Langley wants to work in publicity for animation.
Josh Blinder has a passion for sports that has made him an asset in the newsroom this semester. Josh hopes to do a play-by-play reporting for the NFL Network. He dreams of one day being a commentator for the Super Bowl.
Daniel Gomez is in his 2nd semester of Chapman News and has a passion for esports. He was even able to cover the Overwatch Grand Finals this semester. Daniel plans to go into esports broadcasting after graduation.
Colin Gaja is in his 3rd semester of Chapman News and plans to help out with the spring production as well, with technical and sound mixing. He is our fix-it man. He dreams of gigs in the direct and esports events.
Ryan Deeb has worked on Chapman News for over a year and has constantly surprised us with his on-camera work from sports and weather to a report on card trading. He accomplished his Chapman News dream today by covering the World Cup.
And as for our lovely executive producer, Calista Clark, she has worked for Chapman News for 2 years. Her passion lies in increasing accessibility to the arts, entertainment, and performance across economic, physical, and geographic barriers, which she hopes to do by directing and producing live broadcasts. Wow, I can't believe this is our last newscast of the semester.
Truly the end of an era.
Be sure to check out our YouTube page at chapmannews.tv and make sure to follow us at Chapman News. I'm Alexandra Konyards.
And I'm Avery Feldman. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next semester.